Hello internet friends, my name is Napiet and welcome to my top 10 tips for winning in XCOM 2. For this guide I'm going to put the most important things up front rather than counting down like a traditional top 10, since winning in this challenging strategy game comes from the key ideas that build on one another. There's no point talking about which text to research or what the best classes are if we don't know how to move across the map without triggering every enemy on it. Also, I'm going to approach this guide as if you're playing on Legend Iron Man. Now, this is not because I'm a sweaty elitist. You should play on whatever difficulty you wish, but the principles for survival on Legend Iron Man can be applied to every other difficulty, whereas the opposite is not the case. So on normal difficulty, for instance, you can kill a squad of troopers with one grenade. So the advice would be lob a grenade at the troopers and kill them all. On Legend, troopers have 4 health, so opening with a grenade is not always the best option. You leave yourself open to flanks when you guys miss their Overwatch shots. With all that said, let's get on. Number 1. There is no guarantee you will win on every mission in XCOM 2. You don't have the manpower or the tools, particularly at the start. And even if you do everything correctly, make all the optimal moves flawlessly, there's still the element of chance. You can miss 94% shots, random packs of enemies can run into your back, reinforcements can be called in the middle of a fight. Get this, if you're doing really well, the game gets even harder. The other day I completed the first mission flawlessly and was on course for doing the same in the second mission when the game dropped 2 stun lancers and a priest on top of my squad. Those are enemies that don't usually appear until the second month. That's why my first piece of advice is about mindset rather than mechanics. Get used to the fact that you're going to lose troopers and you're going to lose missions. A lost mission isn't the end of the game. You can stop dark events if you fulfill the objective, even if your squad wipes, or you can evac when things go really bad, since a failed rescue mission is not the end of the world. The game is very unfair. It wants to murder you, but what will ultimately see you through is the determination to accept those losses and carry on regardless. It sounds like a woolly first piece of advice, but I really believe it is the most important tip of all. The thing that ends every run, when you think about it, is giving up. So keep going, Commander. Number 2, enough philosophy. How do you actually move across the map? This is the main way that the game wants to trip you up. It wants you to trigger too many enemies than you can handle. It wants you to move one of your soldiers into sight range of an enemy pack when all your other troopers have already made their moves and have no way to react. Good movement in XCOM 2 is all about controlling when and how you trigger enemies. Except in very specific cases, you want to move all your soldiers in a tight-knit unit. That way you're close enough to offer support, but more importantly it cuts down the sight range so you can't see too many packs when you engage. Sounds counterintuitive, right? Cut down your sight range? Being able to see everything in a battle is good, surely. Not in XCOM 2. If just one of your soldiers can see that second pack of enemies, then when you engage the first pack you will pull 6 instead of 3, and our goal is always to tackle 1 pod of enemies at a time. Therefore, move out of sight range of that second pack before you engage, and once your fight starts, be very careful about flanking too wide. You can easily trigger more enemies that way. Templars are great for guaranteed damage, but in order to do it they need to get in close. You have to run forward. I'm not saying don't do that, but you need to pick your moment. Are you going to trigger more enemies? And if you do so, can you handle it? Do your other guys have moves remaining? Are they in heavy cover? I call this pod management, so I sound like an elder, but it's foundational, so important in XCOM 2. Tip 3 is also about movement. Choose one of your squad to be the pathfinder, so to speak. Whether you're in concealment or not, this soldier moves forward and your other soldiers move behind them, following in their footsteps as you explore the map. This is again to mitigate the chance of triggering other pods at weird angles and unexpectedly, but it also means that if this scout soldier does trigger enemies, the rest of your squad is waiting behind them with all of their moves ready to react. Ideally, only that scout soldier should be triggering enemies. Sometimes people use a sacrificial rookie for this purpose, since obviously the scout is at greater risk and you don't want to use your best guy for this purpose, but a strategy that is less likely to have you indicted on war crimes is to use your Reaper or a Ranger with concealment abilities to do this. Tip 4, the last one on movement, I promise, don't gold move unless you're absolutely positive there aren't enemies up ahead, and wherever possible make all your squad's moves before committing to Overwatch. Even if if your scout didn't spot anything, one of your other guys might peep through a wall and see something he didn't, in which case the game has got you where it wants you if you've already made those gold moves. Now everyone is locked in place, waiting for that pod of enemies to flank. If you've only made blue moves, then you can at least run to better cover. It's usually a rocky situation, you're on the defensive now, but it's much better than having no options at all. Number 5, I still remember the marketing for XCOM 2, which showed you a squad sneaking up, setting Overwatch in concealment, then one trooper opened fire and the rest of your guys slaughtered the enemy as they ran for cover. It looked very cool, however this strategy can easily get you killed. If you don't slaughter everything, and the chances are you won't, because in the early game your squaddies suck at shooting and there are aim penalties associated with Overwatch, you can end up in a situation much like the one described above, locked in place with those surviving enemies easily able to flank. If you decide to use this strategy, you need to assess the risks. Are all my guys in heavy cover? Is the enemy too far away to flank? Am I firing from a rooftop, so the chances of me hitting are much better, so it's worth the risk? Don't believe the hype. It looks cool and it can be a good way to start a battle, but it can also get you killed quick. Number 6, the best strategy to do with Overwatch is this: get the enemy to wander into you. For this to work, the squad already needs to be revealed and you need to be waiting in Overwatch when a pod wanders in your direction. All your squad then take Overwatch shots, the enemy run for cover, then you get a full turn to mop up the survivors. I'm making it sound much easier than it is. You can't dictate where the enemy is going to move, but you can be mindful of the direction sound is coming from, and the aliens will get louder the closer they are to you. Maybe they're close to the edge of the map, or a building with just one door, so there's only a couple of places they could go. It's a good opportunity for this, and if it's there, I would always use it. A full round of Overwatch followed by a full round for your squad while the enemy isn't reacting. When it happens, you know the game has finally decided to give you a break. Number 7 already, and I haven't said half the things I wanted to say, so I'll have to do a follow-up video. But anyway, number 7 is Guerrilla Ops. This is the facility you should build first and rush one of your guys to Sergeant as fast as possible. This allows you to buy the squad upgrade so you can have 5 guys instead of 4. Captain, for the 6-man upgrade, is a longer term goal, but if you farm kills with one of your units, you can unlock the 5-man upgrade towards the end of the first month, and that helps immensely with the much more difficult second month. There will always be a lost mission in that first month too, and that's a great opportunity to farm XP. Number 8, go for modular weapons first and don't overlook loot, particularly stocks. It might not seem like much, but being able to guarantee damage, just one, it's a lifesaver in this nightmare of a dice game. It's random whether you're going to get the loot and whether it drops in the first place, but you can get lucky and find advanced stocks, 2 damage in the first month. The other loot is less game changing. Numbers are pretty low when you start, extra 5% crit for instance, but it all makes a difference. Just don't unnecessarily take risks to get the loot. Survival of the squad comes first, loot second. Number 9, related to taking risks, supply missions. The ones where you have to get the crates from Advent. I've watched so many people experience squad wipes on these missions because they thought they had to do what the game was telling them. My advice, ignore the crates entirely and focus on finding Advent on that map. If you kill all the enemies, you get all the remaining crates on the map. So moving your troopers into risky positions, desperate to get those resources, you're just going to get their faces blown off. I'm not saying ignore the crates entirely, grab the easy ones, but don't obsess about getting them. Even if you get no crates because that last pod has been hiding in a shed at the back of the map, you still get a bunch of XP and a squad that's still alive and hopefully no injuries, so they're not out of it for a while. The devs of this game are fiendish and they put stuff like this in there, temptations to trip you up. Don't fall for it. They want you to fail so they can make it canon for XCOM 3. Don't do it. Finally, number 10, another tactical option, not a very palatable one and pretty counterintuitive probably. Consider falling back. If there is no good cover up ahead so you can't close with the enemy, try to bait them towards you. The best way to do this is to break line of sight and hide behind a wall. If you can't break sight lines, then hunkering down can sometimes encourage them to move up towards you. Be very careful they can't get to the edge of that wall and flank you, but it's a strategy I didn't employ for the longest time, and then it suddenly occurred to me one day, I still remember like a light bulb blinking on. Wait, I don't have to move up. I don't have to sit here shooting, I can run away? Yes, yes you can, and it's something that really confuses the enemy and they get all pissy about. I hope these tips helped you. If they did, please like and sub to the channel. I do reviews of the games I'm playing, and I sometimes dive deeper like this, taking some time out to discuss the things I've learnt. Thanks for watching, I've been Napyet, and I'll see you next time.